Hey, what's up, guys? It's Mondo here. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Loud Gator. I've hit a big milestone in my life, which is making my first 100K, and I did it at 23, so I just want to talk a little bit about that.
Wake your ass up.
I told that bitch I count my cash. Bitch, get on my face.
Now, before we get started, I just want to mention this is by no stretch of the imagination a flexing video. I have been financially planning for the last 6 years. I am now 24. I just turned 24 in November 22nd. But since I was 16, I've set myself up for a future. I'd like to say I've kind of put in the work to figure out what I need to do to get to this point. And that's what I feel like has gotten me to where I am now. It's just a process, and there's bigger steps coming up ahead. So this video is going to be more or less just what has worked for me so far, what I recommend you do, and just to kind of look into my life and what you can expect things to change here in the future. With that being said, I am a Mexican American immigrant. I was born in Mexico and I moved here to the age of 6. My dad sacrificed his young life to become a contractor, save up all his money, and become a US citizen, all while we were growing up in Mexico, kind of figuring out what that life was like. That life over there was a lot harder than it was here. Back in Mexico, I had dirt floors, our roads were all made of dirt. It was just a different type of environment. It was truly a poverty sort of farming lifestyle that we lived. And so my dad really wanted us to have a better life. That's why he moved here to the US. That's why he wanted us to get to this point in our life. So I took that, and I really did not want to have that be for granted, right? I wanted my life, my dad's sacrifice, to be something that led to more. So I knew that there was work to be done. I got a lot of perspective growing up like this because once we moved to the US, we were still not really doing well for ourselves. We were very poor, my family. We didn't even have a house when we first moved over here. My dad was staying at a friend's house, and then when we came over here, we stayed at their house as well. So we were technically homeless. We weren't living out in the street, but we didn't have a house. My dad eventually got his own apartment, and all of that was kind of rushed to get us into school right away. That was our philosophy for getting here to the US, improving our education, improving our opportunities, and my dad recognized that. It's funny because when I first came to the US, they put me in an all English speaking class, and I didn't know any English. All I knew was Spanish, but my dad knew that the quality of education that you get in regular classes as compared to English as second language is just exponentially better. So I was very quiet for the first year because I was learning as I went. So I knew no English. This is what this is all about, right? It's all about figuring it out as you go and being self-made. That's what this kind of all is for me about. So it's about recognizing where you're at and then figuring out what you need to do to change your life. So I knew there was more to life than where I grew up. Here in the US, I'd look around and I'd see people with such nicer houses, nicer cars, just living a completely different life than what I had to live. And I knew that it was possible, and I knew that it was something that I wanted to do. So I set myself to be different than where I came from. I think that that's what our generations and our bloodlines are really just all about. You are just a stepping stone. Your fathers had a different life, their fathers had a different life, and you kind of go on. So it's up to you to continue on the generation and continue to provide a better future for your future self and your future family. So once I recognized, and once I started growing up and maturing and realizing that we're gonna have to put in some work, especially with money, I realized that I had to focus a lot of my time being young to figuring out a plan to make as much money as possible. Money is extremely important. Don't let anyone tell you that it's not. Don't let people tell you to not focus on money, that that's a shallow way to think. It is not, okay? You need money to do anything here in the United States. You need money to be able to have a good life. You need money to be able to have freedom for your time. You need money to be able to drive, to be able to eat. I mean, if you live in the US or really anywhere that you live, you need money. So don't let people shame you for figuring out early that you need to make money and that you really need to prioritize that. That's what I did. So I figured out a plan, and I figured out a way to make actionable steps towards changing my life. So that's what I want to talk about, some of those things that I did, and I want to tell you what worked for me and what didn't work, or what may have worked, or what I'm planning to work, so that you can kind of get some perspective if you're ever stuck in a position like me, or if you just kind of want to listen and see what got me to this point. So one of my first philosophies that I really focused on was self-investments. Now, people talk about that a lot, right? The biggest investment you can make is to yourself, but people don't really elaborate on what that means. So self-investment is giving yourself the knowledge, the connections, and the perspective that you need to make a better decision for your life in the future. So like I mentioned, this is my first generation being here in the United States. Some people, they have a little bit of a head start. That's just the simplicity of things. Their parents may be the third generation in the United States, and you have uncles and you know people that own businesses that you can easily kind of latch on to, see what works, and continue your life that way. But some people don't. Some people really don't know all these things that someone else might know. So it's your job to put in that extra work and figure out what you're going to need to do to be successful. For me, the way that looked was self-development books and investing into my knowledge and my mindset. So at the age of 16, I read Think and Grow Rich. That is a book that I would 100% recommend anyone read, whether you're 16, whether you're 18, whatever age you're at, because it really tells you the basics of having a success mindset and kind of manifesting the dreams and the things that you want. So I started reading and really investing into myself and learning what's out there, right? What careers are out there? How do you build wealth? How do you invest? I also started learning how to invest my money into index funds, right? So I started teaching myself the basics of investing. At age of 18, I also opened up my Roth IRA and I started investing into index funds. So I've been invested now for 6 years, and I have a feeling that that's going to pay off in the future very well as well. All these things are kind of just the investment piece of things. The next philosophy that I think really helped me get to where I'm at now is learning how to budget. So the money that you do get, you have to be very careful and very selective on where it goes and what you do with it, because that's what's going to separate you from being able to continue to make more money or just spend more and more money. So I learned that investing was something that was really important. So as I mentioned in my other point, I invested a lot. I saved a lot of money. So right now I do have some good money saved. And I've been setting myself up for a more responsible, live below your means type of life. If I really wanted to, I could have bought myself a nice toy. I could have bought myself a nice liability, is what they call it. But that's not my philosophy. My philosophy behind budgeting is buy assets and then buy the liabilities. So that's another thing that's really important and that I feel like has allowed me to get to where I'm at now. Living below your means and spending your money in the right way. Now, the next thing is building your credit. So credit is something that I feel like you just need in the US. Some people are just very anti-credit. Oh, never get into debt, right? It doesn't have to be that. If you understand the way credit works, it's a very powerful way for you to leverage debt and for you to provide credibility to lenders in the future that you are a good person, that's responsible enough to get money and get loans. And if as you grow up, as you get older, you realize that having a good credit is just something that you need. Unfortunately, a lot of people learn this the hard way when they're 25, 26. You know, they've now racked up thousands and thousands in credit card debts. Their credit is in the dump, and now they can't qualify for loans. They live in, apartments, and now they're throwing their money away, and now they're not building any sort of, long-term wealth. Credit is a tool for you to prevent that, and I could talk about that here in my next philosophy, which is setting yourself up for the future by spending your money and putting this all together on the right places. So for me, I really want to buy my investment property by the age of 25. So I got about a year and a half to go. This will allow me to really get ahead in my generation. I think that home equity is what separates a lot of generational wealth from each other. And if you know how to get a house, if you know the things that you need, which is things that I just outlined, good income, good credit, and money set aside to be able to buy the house, you can get a house and you can allow yourself to build that home equity, that generational wealth. So again, these are the basics that I feel like have gotten me to where I'm at now, that have allowed me to get to this point. To talk a little bit about me specifically, where I'm at and how I made this 100K. I started off with high school, developed a lot of skills in my mindset in high school. That's what I used my time in high school for. Once I got to college, and this is a decision that you got to make, I would say 100% get a degree in high school. I know it's probably on the rise now that people are dropping out more and more. I just think that it's so difficult for you to get anywhere in life without a GED. I mean, yes, there is the rare occurrence where someone just figures out some crazy plan and does some crazy things, but you shouldn't let that minority speak for the majority of cases. More likely than not, if you don't have a GED, it's going to be very difficult for you to get a good life. So I would, number one, say at least get your GED. College, another choice. It depends on what you know and how easy it is for you to get into an industry or create some sort of business. If you feel really confident in starting a business and you know what you got to do, so again, this is where having the nice resources and having people who know things that you can latch onto comes into play. You might not need to go to college. It might be pretty easy for you to get by without going to college. But pay attention to who says these things. Don't go to college, right? It's typically folks who had a different background or had some crazy motivation to do something. Most average people, we don't have those things. We follow the traditional path, which the traditional path can be very rewarding. That's what I'm here to talk about. If you have the choice to not go to college and you have the opportunities, by all means do so. But if you don't have all this knowledge, if you don't have all these connections, all these networks, college is a great place for you to get those things, because in college you'll meet people who do have these connections or who may have these connections. You'll meet professors who know industry. You get exposure into industry. You'll see what industries pay well, which industries are growing, and you'll be able to make an educated choice on where to go in life, as opposed to not having much direction and just kind of just figuring it out, which, like I said, will more than likely lead to tougher times. So for me, I focused in sales. I got my bachelor's degree in business administration with a minor in marketing, and I got into a Fortune 500 transportation company. I've been selling for them for the last 2 years, and I've been making good money. Right now, I'm in a position to legitimately triple my income within 2 years, because sales is such a good industry for you to get into. If you want to get into sales, I can talk a little bit more about sales in a specific video, but long story short, there's always going to be demand for sales reps. There's got to be someone who goes out there into the marketplace, gets products out there, and drives revenue for companies. And if you know how to do that well, which I feel pretty confident in me being able to do so, you can make a lot of money and your future can be very secure, because you can take that skill anywhere you go. You can take that to tech sales, hospital sales, transportation sales. You learn the product, obviously, but if you know how to sell, you're in it, bro. That's what I did. That's where I made my first 100K. The next steps for me are going to be to take this income and then now turn it into real estate investments. So take it and buy assets, like I mentioned in the budgeting aspect of things. I want to buy assets before I buy my liabilities. Could I have bought my Hellcat by now? Yes. Could I have paid cash for my Tahoe build? Yes. But I'm budgeting. I'm taking things slow. I have a bigger plan in mind to make more money and to be more financially free than just to buy toys, right? So for me, I am planning to buy a house within the next 2 years, like I mentioned, and that's going to be the next step towards building wealth. I'm going to buy an investment property, and with that equity, I'm going to leverage that equity to get more properties, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the future. I'm still learning. Again, I'm only 24, so I'm learning as I go, but that's where I'm at now, and that's where I see my life going in the future. This YouTube channel, I wanted to turn into something that I could express my passion and grow with it and show you what I'm doing. I think that I'm going to be able to do this very well, and that's the whole point of this video, just to check in, show you what I've done so far, show you what has worked, and show you that at the end of the day, if you just follow simple steps, if you create a plan for yourself, if you analyze where you're at, your opportunities that you have to grow, what you need to do to execute on these opportunities, and just follow through on the steps, you can be successful. You can do great things. I wasn't one of those gurus that, hey, I made 100K at 18. Look at me, I'm a day trader. I'm crazy, right? I'm not one of those guys. I'm just an average dude who I feel like in 5 to 7 years, I'm gonna be in a very good spot in my life. And that's validated by people that I know that are very successful. I network with a lot of high network individuals, business owners, literal millionaires, and they all tell me that the things that I know is way ahead, and it's going to get me ahead of so many people, and it's going to put me in such a nice spot by the age of 30. And I just feel like I could really help people, and people could benefit from hearing this, from hearing the things that I have now learned work, that I know will work in the future. So thanks for checking into this video. There's not going to be a lot of these. It's going to be mostly Tahoe videos, sound system videos. But as I grow, as I get into a better financial place in my life, I am going to talk about it, and I'm going to tell you, you know, this is what has been working. You know, in 5 years, I'll probably look back to this video and say, this is what I told you guys 5 years ago. This is where I'm at now. You know, you figure out what you want to do, and, you know, you get what you get out of this. So thanks for checking in, guys. Thanks for watching this video. We'll have some more coming soon. Thanks for watching. You guys have a great day.